Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Seidel with the Martha's Vineyard Commission. Just going to walk you through how to use the map viewer from ArcGIS Online. So here's a map, which is publicly accessible, no sign-in required. So when the map loads, initially just the legend is displayed. The items that are displayed are just those that are visible on the map. To find the other data that might be available to you as part of this map, you would click on layers. You can just dismiss this get started item, click the X. So each of these items over here represents a data set, or what's commonly referred to as a layer. You can turn layers on and off by clicking the eyeball icon. If I move the mouse for data layers that are already turned on, the eyeball magically just disappears. But if you hover the mouse over the data set name, that icon comes back again. So if you want to turn this off, you click the eyeball and the interior town boundaries have disappeared from the map. To display them again, you simply just click the eyeball again and they reappear. So that same functionality goes for every single data set. Some data sets have a little arrow beside them. And what that indicates is that item is actually a group of data sets. So if you click on the arrow, you'll see all the data sets that are beneath it. One very important thing to note is that if the group is turned off, then even if you turn something on, that's within the group, you still won't see it because the group has to be turned on in order to see it. If you like looking at data in a tabular format, to view the attribute table for a data set, you again, hover over the name and then you click on three dots and then you can do show table. The thing about GIS is that it's not just pictures on a map, but there's actual information associated with the picture. And it's this attribute table that contains the information. For this particular tutorial, I'm not going to go into what all of this specific data means, but this is how you would access the table. If you have some data, such as these conservation properties, and you would like the display to be transparent so you can see what the aerial photograph looks like, in that area, you hover over that data set, and this is conservation land. So if I turn this off, the conservation land disappeared. Now it's back on. If you want to make that color transparent, here you would click on those three buttons, those three dots beside the dataset name, and do show properties. And that brings up this panel over on the right. And here, transparency, you would just play around with the slider to make it as more or less transparent as you would like. To make this properties panel go away, you just click at the very top button over here on the right. That's indicated as properties. Another way to open the property window is if you just single click, or you might have to double click on the dataset name, and then it shows the property panel for that data. Some other basic map viewer handy tips. Here we have bookmarks. And the bookmark, there could be just one, there might be a couple, but what they do is it's just a preset zoom level. So it'll, in this case, take you out to the full extent of Martha's Vineyard. There might be another zoom just to zoom into a particular town, or maybe a certain intersection within that town. But that's what bookmarks are. They just zoom you to different spots. While we're on the topic of sort of navigating the map, again, if you just click and hold down the mouse, you can pan the map. If you use your scroll wheel on the mouse, you can zoom in and you can zoom out. You can also zoom in and out using the plus and the minus sign icons found in the lower right. And also sort of interacting with the map. Oftentimes, if you click on a feature, you can get a pop-up of information about that feature. Information presented in the pop-up is the same information that one would see in the table. The thing about viewing it in the table is every row in the table represents a feature, in this case, different polygons or parcels on the map. Whereas with the pop-up, you're only seeing the information for that one feature or that polygon, or maybe it's a point. And lastly, take that back. Second to last thing I wanted to cover was base map. So this base map is the aerial photo. If you want to use a different one, you can just click on the base map tool and then pick any base map from the list and check that out. Another example is just streets at night. Gives a very dark background. Oftentimes this can be helpful to see, really pop out the data that's on the map. All right, so the last thing in this basic tutorial is how to add other data to this map. So as long as data is shared publicly in ArcGIS OnLine, anyone can access it. The data is just there in the cloud. It's been shared, fully public. So to get to that data, you click on the Add button over on the left, and then you go to Browse. And you can search, since this particular map is hosted in the Dukes County ArcGIS Online Cloud. By default, it allows you to search that Dukes County ArcGIS Online Cloud, or you can search all publicly available data that's in, the massive ArcGIS Online Cloud. So we're just going to go, to the massive cloud. And since we're in Massachusetts, we have the great resource of MassGIS. So let's say you wanted to find wetlands to add to this map. I would recommend just typing in MassGIS wetlands and see what you get. So here we have Mass DEP wetlands. There's a lot of other choices here. I highly recommend that you pay attention to the source of where the data comes from. If you just click on the thumbnail or the title of the data, you'll receive a little information about it. Again, this will help guide you into whether or not you really want to use the data. Do you feel that it's a trusted source? That kind of thing. So if you decide you want to use it, then all you do is click Add, and then the data is added to the map. So now if we go back to Layers, here's the Mass DEP wetlands that we just added. And this one happens to be a group. That's why it has that arrow. So then you can turn on or off the linear features or the other polygon features. So here I'll turn this on again. So here are some wetlands. The properties window opened up on the right, which is helpful because it shows the legend, but also the other way to see the legend is, again, clicking on the legend button on the left. So that's all for today's tutorial. Hope you've enjoyed it, and check out the next tutorial. Thank you.